Okay, everyone. Thank you guys again for coming, and we're going to go ahead and get started now. So, once again, I would like to thank everybody for taking a Tuesday night to come here. This is a pretty important event. So welcome to, as far as we know it, Merced's first youth-led candidates forum. This candidates forum began several months ago when the organization that I run locally here, WeCed Youth Media, was part of a larger initiative to advocate during the city budget process for additional resources to youth services. It was during that advocacy process that a lot of our young people became introduced to the idea of being involved with their city government, of really knowing what their city government does and doesn't do. And even though we didn't necessarily get everything we advocated for, there was an interest that was sparked there. So as we debriefed after the city budget was set, we talked, how can we continue to use civic engagement to raise youth issues and youth concerns? And it just so happened that this year is an election year. So we thought, why don't we host a candidates forum where we can organize it and we can decide kind of what the questions are going to be asked, what is going to be talked about. And after an extensive period of planning, here we are. So first of all, thank you for the candidates for making time out of their schedule to come here. We really appreciate it. I'm going to explain how the forum is going to work, and then I'm going to introduce our youth moderators. So there will be 3 initial, what we're calling warm-up questions to get you guys, loosened up and ready. These 3 first questions, you will only have 30 seconds to answer. They'll be pretty brief and to the point. So they'll have a 30-second time limit. Afterwards, we will begin to ask questions in 3 different categories. About you being the candidate, you kind of sharing a little bit about yourselves. Growth as it pertains to Merced and the community here. And youth life, questions centered around the day-to-day activities of young people. And these will function a little bit differently because we're going to start with Mr. Thurston. You're going to answer the first question first. We're going to go down the line to Mr. Lohr and so on. Once we get into the 3 categories, the about you, growth, and youth life, which you'll see up on the screen in a second, whoever's answering first will get to choose which of the 3 categories the question will come from. Exactly, Ms. Maurer, it's kind of taken off Jeopardy. So, just to use it as an example, if we're past the 3 warm-up questions, and Mr. Thurston was the first one to answer, he would choose about you, growth, and youth life, and one of our youth moderators would then ask a question from the appropriate category. Once the questions for that category have been run through, then that category will no longer be available. Okay, and with that, let me go ahead and introduce our youth moderators.
Hello and welcome. My name is Elisa Vasquez, and I will be one of your youth moderators tonight.
Good evening. Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Fernando Almaraz, and I'm going to be another one of your moderators for today. I am 17 years old and I attend UHAV Colony High School. So we're going to get right to the warm-up questions. What do you think is one of the most important issues affecting Merced today? And we're going to begin with Mr. Thurston.
Sorry, did you say what is one of the most?
What do you think is one of the most important issues affecting Merced today?
I think it's still a lack of employment and jobs and businesses coming to Merced. Economic impact, whether it's going the wrong direction or the right direction, has a significant impact on virtually every other aspect of in the town, including how many police officers we can hire, how much the restaurants make, and how many employees they can employ. So that was one of my #1 objectives when I ran for mayor in 2011, was to create an atmosphere to create more jobs in Merced. So I think that's still a priority issue for our city.
Go ahead, Mr. Lord.
Thank you. I certainly agree that at this time, job is the most important issue because I have 6 children. 5 of them are looking for jobs. And it's very, very difficult for them to find jobs in Merced. And I can understand the challenge our family face. That's why I'm fighting so hard for jobs for our community. Thank you.
Mr. Belawimini, sorry.
Yeah, I have 2 main issues that I'm campaigning on, and one of them has been sort of mentioned by both mayoral candidates. That is that we need better paying jobs, more of them, and the city needs to do something to prepare land and encourage businesses to come here to create those job opportunities, manufacturing industry, good paying jobs. My second main issue is that we need to increase youth sports and youth activities and things for young people to do after school out of the work when they're finished with school.
Did I go over the limit? I didn't know where you.
I didn't even know where she
Oh,
was.
we're over here, guys, timekeepers.
You didn't tell us the time in the room. We know now.
Ms. Maurer?
Okay. I would also agree with the previous candidates that jobs is our biggest issue in Merced. And I would expand upon that, saying that the connection between those that are educated and obtaining jobs. So for example, you don't have to go to college to be educated and to get a job in Merced. So we need to find a way that high schoolers, when they get their diploma, that they can also find jobs. Individuals that go to the JC, once they get their associate degree, they can find jobs. And those that end up going to UC Merced, once they get their bachelor's and master's or PhD, they can stay in Merced.
Mr. Blake?
Thank you. And I'm also going to have to say jobs, and I think it's poignant, especially in this atmosphere with the youth. You know, 34% of our general fund, our discretionary money, is made up of sales tax revenue, and those are the things that fund our youth programs and our public safety, like police and fire. And those are I feel, our most important programs to better the community. But in order to have the 34% sales tax revenue, we need to bring jobs into town. We need to have a just say yes attitude and bring good paying jobs into Merced to enhance those programs.
Ms. Villa?
Yes, good evening. I'm going to agree with jobs also, but I think what we need to do is find something for our youth to do after school. And we have such a high rate of bangers out here, to put it so crudely, but I do believe our children need more sports activities. Also, I'd like to see the bus system come back in. There are a lot of children out there that live too far out of the city limits and should not have to be walking to school. So that's what I would like to see. Let's take care of our youth. They're our future. Thank you.
Mr. Padilla?
Thank you. First, thank you for having this forum. I appreciate that and a chance to speak. And I agree, jobs is probably the main thing that we really need to focus on, because without the income, we can't do the other things that need to be done. The youth programs, the job training that has to come along with the jobs. And that's where we need to engage the school systems to help with this vocational training that, because as Jenna said, not everybody's going to go to college, but we need to have them well trained so that those industries.
Mr. Pedros.
Thank you very much for hosting us this evening. It's really inspiring the fact to know that the youth put so much energy and time into this and enthusiasm to really make it something that it is. You know, the number one priority that I see is financial sustainability in the city. I think that once the companies see that the city has its financial house in order, that they're not in any position to default or be bad, that I think that companies will be more willing to come to the city and grow here to provide those quality of jobs that we so desperately need. And I think that that's something that the city is going to be working on. Thank you.
Could you just tell me the question, because I was walking in when...
Yeah, sure.
All right, perfect.
What do you think is one of the most important issues affecting Merced today?
When I start talking, you time it. Okay. I'm not going to give you the cliche of jobs, because 2 years ago, we said the same thing. So I think that we need to bring back, let's make this a fun town again, so to speak. My daughter's 13 and goes to this school, and she asked, why doesn't Merced have a Chuck E. Cheese? And I said, it's simple. The city council is not working with the planning commission. The planning commission, well, I don't get it. Modesto has one, and so does Fresno. So how come I have to take my daughter to Stanislaus County and Fresno County, and they get our 34%, right, Blake? 34% of the sales tax. It's very simple. If we stop making this so difficult and bring back simple things like that, oh, sorry, but that makes sense, right, people? That's just one example. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Second question. How do you plan to better the lives of young people in Merced? I'm sorry. How do you plan to better the lives of young people in Merced? And we're going to begin with Mr. Lord.
Merced need to have a policy that will certainly put a perspective, emphasize and provide service and opportunity to support all young people. And I think one of the slogans that I would like to see is Merced is the best place to grow. And that's something that we need to work on. Thank you.
Mr. Belawimi.
This is a 30-second question. I think, again, as I mentioned, there are approximately, 10 to 12,000 students or young people under the age, over the age of 10, between 10 and 18 in the city, and yet we have very limited sports activities for them outside of the schools. In our youth soccer and those sort of things, we currently have about 3,000, a little less than 3,000 that are involved. I think we need to expand those youth opportunities for after-school athletics and sports. 30 seconds goes by fast.
So the question is, how can I, as a city council member, better the lives of youth in Merced, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so first off, I think that tonight is a great example of how we can better the lives of our youth by them not only getting involved, but them also being here to hear, well, to voice their opinion of what they see for Merced. Me up here, I have my ideas, but that doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily mix with the ideas of the youth today. I think the biggest thing is really connection, building that connection between the leadership of Merced and also the future leadership of Merced. And I think that I know I will also address the quality of life issues that Merced is currently facing, especially with obesity.
Thank you. I think as Merced grows and thrives, the youth will follow, and the different programs such as the recreational programs, like Mr. Belawami said, the soccer, the baseball, and things like that, having opportunities for our children to get out, get off the streets and engage in positive, productive activities is important. And as we thrive and grow and our economy becomes better, those things will become easier to come by. And I also think involving them in civic engagement and giving them motivation to get involved, such as tonight, we had a good showing of the youth.
I'd have to agree with everyone what they said, but I'd like to take it a little bit further that there's been many conversations of getting the youth and having a youth council. And I really think that's very, very important because I've talked to several youths here or there, and they're pretty excited about it. And this goes to show, very good example, that these young adults are ready to get involved and find out what's happening in our community. And since they are our future, this is what we need to strive to get them excited and say, let's be a part of this community.
I think it's kind of a two-part question, or two-part answer. The youth activities, the after-school activities, the evening activities, the weekend activities need to come back, and that's obviously a budgetary problem that we need to resolve. But also, when we look at the long-term job situation that needs to be resolved here, we need to involve all the parties, the schools, the children, and the city. So we need to look at it, the training that needs to go with that.
I think one of the biggest things is we need to continue working with our community partners, the Merced City School District, the Merced Union High School District, that just accepted the Assets Grant that provides after-school activities to our youth, not to supplement the education that they're receiving in school, but to augment what they're getting outside of it. I think that that's something that we really need to focus on. But we also need to continue looking at opportunities to partner with the students at the JC and the UC to bring them as mentors with the youth into our after-school programs.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
How do you plan to better the life of young people in Merced?
I'll just give you my daughters, they're 13, so what do they want? They want cool stores to go to, like Hollister, A&F, Old Navy. They don't want to go to Turlock and Modesto to do that, because then they get our tax money, so it's pretty simple. Also, if you were talking about making the sports affordable, then let's make it affordable. Let's have businesses actually pay for the uniforms. The kids shouldn't pay anything. On this side of town, they can't afford it. So why do the kids by Crookshank get to play all the sports, but not all the kids here tonight? Let's be realistic, people. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be nice about this, but let's have jobs for these kids once they're like 16, right? Let's have a prep golf. Let's have, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, I go over the time every time.
The last question will be asked by Lisa.
Oh, I didn't get my time on that one. I know we kind of fall off the end here, Josh and I sitting. Well, obviously, from a longer term, we need to create the employment opportunities. But as an elected official, I've spent the better part of the year, and I would continue to do this, to let the youth know that we care, we listen, we value their participation. I want to give the youth more power. I'm the one that put on the list of priorities earlier this year to reestablish the Youth Council, and I've been pushing that ever since, and it looks like it's going to happen, and I'm really happy about that, including the $25,000 to get it up and running.
Hello again, my name is Lisa, and I will be giving you the candidates your third warm-up question. And we will start off with Mr. Bellamini. Young people often identify with music. What one song would you say best personifies you?
That's a good question. Repeat the question.
Young people often identify with music. What one song would you say best personifies you?
Off guard. Wow. There's that song that's popular on the radio right now, and I'm not going to get the words right, but it's like, what's the purpose of my life? Why am I here? That song. Oh. So I think I best identify with that, because I'm always kind of asking that question about my own life as to why am I here? What am I doing? What's the purpose of my life? What am I trying to get done?
Thank you. Ms. Maurer?
I love these types of questions. Well, I would have to say currently, so I'm a huge country fan. I cannot deny that, given why I love Merced. But today, right now, I would have to go with Katy Perry, Roar, because when you walk in, you just want to like take over the world with that song, and it has it in NFL football, and I'm just very excited about it. So I will give my youngness on that one. Thank you.
Mr. Blake?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Pretty Fly for a White Guy. A lot to choose from, but I think that just sums it up there. So.
Thank you. Ms. Villa?
I'm kind of a dreamer, so mine is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I believe dreams are for free, and as long as we can dream, we can make it happen. Strive for these stars, and you can make it happen. Thank you.
I'm afraid you're going to have to forgive me. I'm pretty much music illiterate, so it's not something I'm really very good at. The grandkids and the kids, they just kind of laugh at me when it comes to music. So I'm still back in the '60s. So. Well, I have trouble remembering the '60s. So I'm going to pass on this one.
I have to agree with Ms. Maurer. These types of questions are good because they stump you, because to put one song behind it is pretty difficult. But currently, I'd have to say there's two songs that really work. It's the Black Keys with Wicked Season, because really this whole season right now has been pretty intense and a lot of fun, and that song's about having fun and enjoying yourself. And then also WeCed, A Perfect Situation, because I think that it really personifies where we're going and what we can do in regards to making Merced a better place.
So I'm going to have two songs. One is, it's called Policy of Truth by Depeche Mode. And that's what it is. It's like all about being truthful. And then I think the song these days, I like, she took my Roar song, by the way. I love Katy Perry. And, but I'll go with Miley Cyrus, We Can't Stop. Because that's a good song too. And I bet you these girls like it right here, yes? Yes, they do. All right, that's it.
Mr. Thurston?
I suppose a song that describes what I think I do, I am, whatever. And of course I'm going to show my age a little bit, because you kids are not going to know what I'm talking about. Marvin probably will. And, it's a theme song from an old movie. It's called Friendly Persuasion.
Very popular song. I love you, you love me, we are a happy family with a great big heart and a kiss from me to you. When you say you love me too.
That was good rap.
Thank you. That concludes our warm-up session. Now I'll be turning it over to Fernando.
Now we're going to begin with our next set of questions. You guys, a friendly reminder, you have 3 choices. And I believe we're going to begin with Mr. Blake. Am I correct? Yes? Okay, Mr. Blake, please select the category. I'm sorry?
Tell them they have 1 minute.
Okay, yeah, you have 1 minute to answer the questions.
Did Michael or myself do the song question first?
No.
So then it would be my turn.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Miss Mann. Okay, and the categories are going to be about you, youth life, and growth.
there money associated with this? About you, please.
About you? Okay. Please explain the ways in which you are connected to the youth of Merced today.
Oh gosh. I think that comes a lot from my volunteerism. I have worked with Head Start. I have also worked with the school district in the form of childhood obesity, and I am currently still working with the school district surveying youth connectedness, youth psychology, and how it's transformed from 20 years ago to today as far as the perceptions of themselves. And so I think that, I mean, there's only so much you can do as far as being connected with the youth until you go insane. So as far as being connected with the youth, it's come from working with the school district, volunteering at different events. I wasn't able to make Petal Merced this year because I was out sick, but last year I was at Petal Merced to make sure that the youth are staying active, and also working with the mobile food unit in Merced County to make sure that our neighborhoods are getting healthier food options into their communities. So I would say that that's how I've been connected with the youth in Merced.
Okay. Mr. Blake?
Thank you. You know, one of the most critical things here in Merced that I've seen is trying to ensure that we keep our children on the straight and narrow and keep them out of gangs and drugs. Because as we well know, we lose many of our youth to that world, to the gang world. So it's important for us to get out there and get engaged. One of the things that I've done over the years, I volunteer at schools on a regular basis. I go in, I work for the Sheriff's Department and specialize in gangs and narcotics, and I've gone in regularly to different schools here in the city and spoke to the kids about the dangers of drugs and gang participation. In fact, I went the other day to a local school here in town and spoke to the kindergartners about the dangers of drugs and gangs, and it never fails. Every time I go, there's always some child who raises their hand and explains to me that their mom and dad are in prison, and this is heartbreaking to me, and it just reinforces for me the importance of getting out there as a community and as adults and trying to affect change in these young people's lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Villa?
As many of you know, that I've been out here about 3.5 years. I'm actually from Outwater. And when the homeless started getting shuffled around and all, I came out to advocate. At the different locations I was at, I had many churches come out. I was asked to some different schools and actually private schools to go out and talk to the young adults. And when they brought them out to the camps and explained to them this is what happens to people, and I was fortunate I never got locked into that system, but I'm trying to help people out there and explain and educate that not everyone that's homeless has an alcohol addiction. It could be a gambleaholic. They could be a chocoholic. Something has just taken over their lives. So to let these students know and to speak, and do not get caught up in that peer pressure. So once again, important that we connect with our children, connect with everybody, and have them realize that, you know, don't let those peers get over on you. Peer pressure right now is so much more difficult than it was 20 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla?
Yes, I've spent 20 years working with the Merced Youth baseball program as commissioner, as coach, and stuff. So I've spent 2 terms or 8 years on the Parks and Rec Commission. So I spent a lot of time working on youth programs and youth problems, and I see that there's so much more to be done. And it was really disheartening to see that the after-school programs and stuff that were cut, and that's something I would really like to see come back. The after-school, the evening programs, and the weekend programs, the expansion of our Boys and Girls Club to not only their hours but to other locations. There's a lot to be done, and it requires a lot of volunteers. And I'm asking you tonight to volunteer in your schools, at the Boys and Girls Clubs, and at your sports.
Thank you. Well, I connect with the youth today quite a bit, actually. As many of you may or may not know, I've been a high school teacher at Merced High now for the last 6 years. And not only do I get to connect with the students in the classroom on a daily basis, but I also get to connect with them outside of the classroom, both as a coach and as a club advisor. And I get to see kind of all aspects of it. And it's really exciting to see, you know, the focus and the enthusiasm and the hard work that's going into what the youth of our community are doing. And it's really encouraging that I get to advise them. And there's not really so much advising on my part, it's more I'm learning from them, and that's really exciting. You know, being with kids every day, you learn something new every day. And kids are really fun to work with because you never know what you're going to get on a daily basis. But all you can do is make it to where they're enjoying themselves by learning. And as if I'm learning and they're learning, then I know that they're doing a good job. And that's what's important.
Thank you. Mr. Gallardo?
So how can we connect? Well, first of all, I agree with Mr. Padilla. I've been volunteering, or I've been not here in Merced, but elsewhere the last couple months at the Boys and Girls Club. But I've been teaching 14 years, actually. I got a couple years on Mr. Pedroza here. 7 years high school level, 7 years grade school. And when I got to my charter school in Stockton, they had no athletics at all. They had PE. So in 3 short years, I built a program that had 6 sports, and we got in a league, and I coached varsity basketball, varsity baseball, and I was athletic director for 2.5 years, all for free, all volunteer work. So, do I care about kids? You betcha. Do I help fundraise money for my daughter's Merced United team? You betcha. I care about kids a lot, or else I wouldn't have been in the, you know, I've been in the classroom one way or another since I was 3 years old. I haven't taken a year off. So, there you go.
Thank you. Mr. Thurston?
I've had a wonderful experience as mayor with the youth. I spent an extraordinary amount of time, happily, with building healthy communities, with Tatiana and Michelle, and the Merced Organizing Project, Zia and Chrissy, when it was their desire to embark on participative budgeting. And they learned a lot, I learned a lot. I tried to teach them what I knew about the budget, what was possible, what wasn't possible. We didn't quite get there this year, but we are going to get the youth council done, and I have to thank Brian Mamira too for being moral support and maybe a little help with that in the future. I'm a big supporter of Boys and Girls Club, support with their activities and their funding. I supported and really was happy with Merced's Got Talent project that Jeremy did, and met a lot of nice kids with a lot of talent, and hope to see it even bigger next year.
Thank you. Mr. Lord?
Well, I was a scout master and lead a scout troop before. I was an advisor of the Merced Police Explorer program. I was a youth soccer coach, and also I volunteered to feed the youth at Boys and Girls Club almost every week. And also I'm a lion, and also we doing a lot of fundraising for our Leo Club. And that's something that, you know, that's my passion for the youth. And as your mayor, I will continue to do that for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Balogmini?
In my previous job with the Merced Union High School District, so I did things that bettered the environment for high school students. I was involved in the construction of the swimming pool at Golden Valley High School, the stadium at Golden Valley High School, and of El Capitan High School, which included a number of facilities for the youth of Merced. And also for the establishment of Sierra High School at East Campus, which is one of those campus for students that need extra help. So my previous job involved me in helping with providing facilities that benefited students in many of the schools. I'm also helping to raise my grandson, who's 17 years old and is a senior at Merced High School. So I'm learning from him some of the issues that are associated with the youth, sports and FFA and all that sort of thing. And yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blake, would you please select the category?
Let's go with youth life for $200.
As an elected official, in what ways would the city of Merced make Merced a more supportive and accepting place for LGBT youth?
It's a good question. You know, I think that, you know, Merced is generally speaking is a very tolerant community. And me personally, I'm very tolerant of all people. I think that it's important for us to treat everybody fairly and treat everybody the way we would like to be treated. You know, we all have unique differences. Many of us, you know, have differences that are more apparent than others. And I think it's important for us each individually, I know for myself, to be very compassionate about that. I attended the LGBT forum a couple of months ago, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I haven't attended anything like that before, and I got to listen to a couple speakers that were absolutely fabulous and talked about their struggle going through those changes from a young person and having that harassment in school and things like that that they have to go through. And it was a very hard thing to hear, because some of the people, there was a couple stories about young people who committed suicide because of harassment and things like that. So I think it's important for us just to continue to be cognizant of that and very compassionate towards that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Villa?
Yes, I'd like to say that number one, I think it's support from parents. I have a daughter who has a girlfriend. She's got several children. They love her. I believe in same partner relationships. And I think as a parent that if this makes our children happy, then we should definitely support our children. And so therefore makes the adults that they become, because they are supported, they are our future. My grandchildren are growing up looking at my daughter and going, okay, well, this is cool, you know, this is what my mom does, and I love her, and my grandma accepts her, my great-grandmother accepts her, and I hope that we can have more forums. And actually, Fresno does have a student youth group that is just doing wonderful things, so I certainly hope we can see something like that happen here at Merced High School and the college and at the UC, because we are a big community. Let's stick together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla?
Well, I agree with Mr. Blake. Merced is a fairly tolerant town. We have you know, a very mixed population, and I think we can actually learn from different groups, and everybody has something to contribute, and we need to embrace their knowledge and what they can bring to the table. We've seen over the years bullying going on, and I think as we all grew up, we saw it. And because somebody is different, and that's not acceptable. You know, we're all different, and if we can all find something wrong with the next person sitting next to you. So we need to accept people as they are and move forward, bring their unique talents to bear.
Thank you. Mr. Pedroza?
Thank you. You know, one of the things that is important that we have to do is, and I agree with a lot of what's been said about tolerance, but I think one of the things that we have to do is encourage acceptance and preach respect. Until we understand that there's no place in our society for people to disrespect somebody else because of perceived difference, then I don't think we as a society can move forward, and I think that's unfortunate. It makes it difficult for us to continue on, to make Merced a better place for what we want to live. And not just Merced, but you're talking about the county of Merced, the region, the Central Valley, everything that we're working for in order to move us forward and to be, you know, a cohesive unit. Unless you're cohesive, you're not really doing what you can. I think we need to encourage more of the LGBT youth forums. I think that people need to understand that, you know, they're not alone, that there are other people who are dealing with the same thing. You see it all the time in regards to bullying, and it's always one of those things that you have to make sure that people understand is there is, everybody, we're all put on here the same way, and we're all here, and the thing is, we all are different in some respects, but unless we can work together, our society can't move forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gallardo?
Okay, I didn't hear the question, but I think I can answer this without having to repeat it. So, I think as a teacher, I had one rule. It was so simple, and it was treat others as you want to be treated. And that's it, because it covers like those 6 pillars of character everywhere all the time. If we follow that as a society, you guys see that over there? Up there on the wall? Someone point to it, guy in orange, there you go. If we followed that, if we all followed it as adults, as students, as kids, as elderly people, this town would be a lot better town. Bullying. Bullying happens at every school, even Our Lady of Mercy School. And I can say that because I used to get bullied. You know why? Because I'm so tall. That's supposed to be a joke. That's funny. No, but it happens everywhere, seriously. And even Catholic schools or private schools or public schools. And the only way to stop it is to actually practice what you preach. So we as adults have to stop doing that as well. Kids will follow suit. That's it.
Thank you. Just a reminder, please do not place the microphone so close to your mouth. It's creating an echo, which is giving the audience a hard time.
Sorry.
Mr. Thurston?
I didn't mean to bully.
Mr. Thurston? Yeah.
Thank you. I also attended the forum that Kevin's talking about, the LGBT forum. Extraordinary learning experience. Was shocked at the depth of how these young people become prisoners in their own psyche and their body, and too many of them end up committing suicide. Really sad. I didn't get to see the whole film about a Marine Corps father in Modesto who had a gay son and had a difficult time with that, obviously, but eventually accepted and loved his son. Discrimination of any kind is intolerable. I don't care whether it's this or race or ethnicity or religion. Fortunately, Merced's a wonderful place. Maybe we have some subtle discrimination which we shouldn't have. We need to talk about that too. And that includes LGBT or any other discrimination, subtle or otherwise, and stamp that out in Merced. But we can only do it when we get it out on the table and start talking with each other.
Thank you. Mr. Lord?
Well, I'm a clinician at mental health, and I work with youth also. And now I saw some of them came through for counseling, and I can certainly understand, it's difficult for them to adjust to their home, but at the same time, when they go out to the community, they also have a very difficult time. So I can understand. And as your mayor, you have very positive that you have one clinician who really understands these issues, and we can simply, address. We still need education, a lot of discussion, so that we can better serve these population.
Thank you. Mr. Bawumim?
Yeah, in the perspective of running for city council and being in the city of Merced, I think it's important that the city have policies that are fair to all people, respect all people, and tolerates the difference between many people. So I think that is the position the city ought to take. There's no acceptable reason for discriminating against people based on their sexual orientation. I think any person who makes a contribution to the way that the city or the society operates deserves to participate in the benefits of that society. And as long as no one is doing any harm, I think they also deserve to participate in the benefits and be treated fairly. So my position would be that there should be no discrimination based on sexual orientation.
Thank you. Ms. Mowers?
I think it really does come back to love and respect. No matter who you are, everyone has certain needs and certain concerns as a member of the community. And when we're looking at it, they are a member of the community, and as a representative, it is my job to represent our community. And they just hosted the health forum for LGBT, and as a member of the public health community, I'm very aware of a lot of the issues that affect them health-wise that are not talked about. And I think the biggest thing is really to start that conversation and have an open ear to the idea of what do we need to do in order to make someone feel more connected. So again, I see it as more of they're a member of our community, and I am a representative for the community, and I should be there to listen to their concerns.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Villa, please select the category.
How about you?
What are two things that you would focus on to improve the lives of young people in Merced if elected?
I think number one would be connect in the home. I think that's where everything starts initially. And then of course next school, that's the next place they usually are at. I know parents working very hard trying to make ends meet, but yet if you don't take the time out to listen to your children and see what's happening, then they fall to the wayside. And where do they go? Who do they go to? And with this big issue of the gay issue, I think comes to that. If you're not listening to your children and you don't even know what's happening within their lives, it's a little bit sad. And where do they go? And then with the education, I think that's very, very important. And I hope to shout within that in the school system that we do have some after-school sports, have somewhere they can go, have some good counseling. Outwater High was fantastic. We had some good counselors there. So I think people need to have an ear open. Watch these children. How is their life going on? They're our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla?
Well, the two things that come to mind are the youth activities that you know, the after-school activities, the weekend activities, the nighttime activities and as one thing that engages the youth into positive activities. And I would say the other thing, and I have to agree with Monica, is school. We need to be involved in the schooling of our children to make sure that they are receiving good education and that they are engaged in it. And I'm sure Josh can tell you that there's a lot of students who aren't engaged in their own education. So as you know, as a parent and as a person of a citizen of this town, we need to give them activities, positive activities, and to make sure that they're on the road to success educationally and mentally.
Thank you. Mr. Pedrosa?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest things is, and like I mentioned earlier, that we have to continue to focus on our partnerships with the school districts here in town. I think the education and the sustainability, the accountability of our youth through education and through the different programs that are available, I think is something that has to be very important and will make us successful as a community. As I mentioned, there are different programs that are offered through both the schools, and I think it's going to take the community working with the schools to partner together to make some of those things become successful. I think the other thing is, we can't, as a council, we can't bring jobs. We cannot say jobs have to come or we're going to bring this type of job. But what we can do is make the environment conducive towards economic development by lessening development impact fees, by bringing in different companies to show them what we have to offer here in the community. And I think once we're able to do that, I think that's something that's very important, and I think that'll show long-term success.
Thank you. Mr. Gallardo?
Thank you. I think something that's important to start, I think Mr. Thurston and I were talking about it a couple months ago. I remember El Capitan, Mr. Thurston, like a youth council, like an actual real youth council. So the way we'd set that up is I guess you have elections at schools. So you have a boy and a girl from each junior high, for example. Boy and a girl from each of the high schools, and then maybe a couple students from Merced College, and UC Merced, and they get together with the city council members, and they can tell us what they like and don't like, and they can feel involved with what's going on in Merced. I think that's it wasn't my idea, it was actually the mayoral candidate. We were talking, and I thought it was a good idea. So I didn't just dream this up yesterday, you know? I also think that after-school programs are very important. Boys and Girls Club, why don't you volunteer? Why don't you just volunteer 2 hours a week? You, the public. I do it, it's fun. And, you know, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Thurston?
Well, I'd like to not ever hear the phrase "Merced" again. We are currently setting up a youth council task force. 3 members of the Recreation and Parks Commission and 7 youth picked by each of the elected officials to tell us or advise or suggest to us how the youth council is going to look like. Who's going to be on it, how long, what they're going to do, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to be implementing the input that we need so that we can choose and partner with the right programs that the kids really want to do. Because if you don't do that, they just fail anyway. The second thing, one of my passions, is gang prevention. We have gang suppression, gang intervention, but we're really weak on gang prevention, and that means starting to talk to kids in the 5th and 6th grade about why you don't want to be a member of a gang, because that will ruin your life. For the most part, very few get out.
Thank you. Mr. Lord?
Well, the first thing I would like to do is put more funding into our youth program. Collaborate with city school, county school, high school, and UC Merced. We have UC Merced youth or student who is in our backyard. We need to utilize them to be mentored with our young people in the community. That's the first. Second, United Way has a leadership program that we need to enhance that, the leadership program, so that we can increase the number attend UC Merced and our community college here.
Thank you. Mr. Belbomini?
Yes, so the question is the 2 things to improve the lives of young people in the city.
Yes.
As I said, I would work to increase the citizen volunteer organizations, youth soccer, baseball, and then whatever we can do for basketball, etc., to increase their programs. We should have twice as many students involved in those programs as we have now, and that needs a lot of volunteer help, and the city can be involved in that. Similarly, there are people who aren't interested necessarily in sports, but might be interested in the arts. And the city has currently quite an active partnership with various arts programs in the community that could also be increased to involve more students in drama, graphic arts, dance, music. So I think we could work on those 2 things to increase the participation of youth in programs that are constructive rather than gangs, etc.
Thank you. Ms. Mowers?
I think a mentorship program would be very beneficial in Merced, where our youth are connected to the current leadership and really getting a feel for what goes on. I have my personal story where I grew up in Merced, but then when I came back, I had no idea what was going on and how can I feel connected, and that really came from volunteering and getting to network with individuals, and I think that is one way that we can connect our youth to different opportunities. The perfect example would be Junior Leadership Merced and then eventually Leadership Merced, which are through the Chamber of Commerce. I am promoting ag tourism, and one of the reasons I am promoting that is because the Merced College Workplace Learning Resource Center received a $300,000 grant to train 8th to 12th graders in the hospitality industry. And so when we are training individuals for specific skills and then we have the jobs available for them within the area, I think that allows them to then be able to graduate from high school and get a job right away and stay in Merced, which will allow them to stay connected to our community instead of going out to find a job. Time's up.
Thank you. Mr. Blake?
Thank you. You know, one of the moments in my life that sort of sticks out in my head is several years ago, I had to inform a mother that her, I believe he was a 17-year-old boy was killed. He was shot in a gangland shooting. And you know, that's something that no mother or father should have to ever live with. You know, and the thing is that, you know, once our young people are lost in that lifestyle, it becomes very difficult to bring them back. Once they're caught in the judicial system, the chances of us bringing them back, making them productive members of society is difficult. The rate of recidivism is extremely high. And what we need to do collectively is get to these young people before that happens, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. We need to get through to them and pull them out of that lifestyle towards a lifestyle that's productive and positive. One of the things I've done, I've reached out to several people that I know who are reformed gang members, reformed drug addicts. What we want to do, we also want to make an effort to try to bring some of these individuals back who are in that gang lifestyle. But they're not going to listen necessarily to a guy like me. They're going to listen to other people who have lived that lifestyle and been on the streets before. And one of the things I've done, I've reached out to several people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla, please select the next category.
Growth, please.
Growth. As Merced's North continues to expand, what will you do to ensure that the south side of Merced is not left behind?
Well, that's a tough question. There's some things that we don't have control over, and that's the desire where people want to live, and the desire of a lot of the citizens is to live in the north side. So you have to make the south side a desirable spot to live. And I've talked in the past about some of the crime problems that South Merced has, and they have been addressed. The police feel that they have a handle on the crime and stuff in South Merced, but South Merced needs to be shown as a desirable place to live, and for a lot of people it is. I was, when I was born, I lived in South Merced for a number of years. My grandparents lived here most of their lives, and I've spent a lot of time in South Merced. And it's a place that I have no qualms about. It is a lot of friendly neighborhoods and a lot of friendly people. So that needs to come out.
Thank you. Mr. Pedroza?
Thank you. You know, one of the realities is, and I'm sorry, is we need to, one of my biggest things that I've tried to do the last 4 years is make sure that we stop, kind of fracturing our city and saying North Merced, South Merced, East Merced, and West Merced, because as the city of Merced grows, I think it's beneficial to all. I think that we've made really good strides in putting, in working to put a grocery store on Childs and Martin Luther King. Last night we just voted to revitalize McNamara Park on a grant that we've worked on very hard for. We've had excellent partnerships with the County Board of Supervisors and different members of the community to reopen McNamara Pool for the last 2 years. I think that's something that we're really continuing to work on. I think you'll see that as we move forward, as Campus Parkway, as we work on getting Campus Parkway developed, it's also on the southeast side of the town. I think there's other areas that we can work with and grow on, but I really think it's about changing the perception, because we've spoken for so long and for so much time that this is a bad spot, when all reality is this isn't a bad spot. This is a great spot with one of the most established communities in town, and we need to focus on that. And instead of bringing it down, we need to raise it up. And I think that we're already there.
Thank you. Mr. Gallardo?
Can you just repeat it one more time? I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
As Merced's North continues to expand, what will you do to ensure that the south side of Merced is not left behind?
What will I do to ensure? Well, being that my daughter does live on this side with her mother and stepdad, and I do care about her and her friends that go here to Tenaya, I'll make sure that whatever the kids on the north side get, the kids on the south side get. I think that's fair. Wouldn't everybody agree that's fair? No one's going to shake their head, but it's fair. So what do we have to do? Maybe if Chuck E. Cheese comes back, we put it on the south side. so the south side kids have something fun to go to, right? Or we volunteer our time or money, and we make sure that all the kids on the south side get to play soccer like the kids on the north side. I don't know, I'm thinking outside the box. I think it's really simple to make the south side feel just as important as the east side or the west side, the north side. And I agree with Josh to a certain extent. Let's not call south side south. Okay, but let's be realistic and include these kids over here on this side because they're great kids. And I did sub a couple times at Tenaya back in the day, and they're really nice kids, just as nice as Crookshank kids, or Rivera, or Hoover, or OLM. Thank you.
Mr. Thurston?
The council some years ago recognized that we needed to make a greater effort for the southern part of the city to catch up. We have the revitalization plan in place. As was said, we just awarded the construction contract to finish the McNamara Park renovation, including 2 brand new soccer fields with artificial turf, new basketball courts, new restrooms, new lighting. That's really going to make that park shine when they get done with that project. We're putting more bike paths, more sharos as they call them, so the bikes share with the cars. The council's paying a lot of attention, and so am I as mayor. I was very proud to initiate the first ever Merced Town Hall at Sacred Heart Church Recreation Hall, which started the conversation through the Merced Organizing Project, which actually resulted in McNamara Pool being reopened. And I think that was a big moment for the rest of the town. There's been some, who paid for it? There's actually some paper over there on the table that shows the contributions and the people, a lot of people, 20 to 30 people and individuals who helped open the pool.
Thank you. Mr. Lohr?
Well, as your mayor, Southside will not left behind, I assure you, because I have a lot of families live in the South Side. My children grew up in the South Side, so this is dear to me. And I look forward, this is an opportunity that we can make the South Side brighter. And I'm looking forward to do more incentive for our developers so that they have the opportunity to come and build along Martin Luther King so that our South Side will prosper. And that's one of my goals.
Thank you. Mr. Bellamini?
Yes, I think maybe there's an issue of perception with the question. In 2006, I was working for the high school district, and the high school district purchased another high school site in South Merced. When I say South Merced, I'm talking north of Mission, south of 99 in the city limits. And when we went shopping for a high school site, actually a lot of that land had already been approved for subdivision maps. They hadn't been built, of course, but subdivision maps were in process. So there was a lot of interest in building subdivisions in South Merced. So there is things happening. Now the city has adopted a specific plan for South Merced which shows where housing, shopping, and other activities should take place and what streets should be improved to handle traffic, etc. And so I think there is a plan in place. We need to do what we can as a city to finance those public infrastructures, sewer, water, drainage, parks, in order to promote that plan.
Thank you. Ms. Mauer?
So I will agree that we have to get away from saying, oh, the south side of Merced. It is still a part of Merced. And as I said many times before, I'm a representative for all of Merced. And with that being said, I think one of the big things that I have been questioned about on this campaign trail is what about the vacant buildings that are in South Merced? Why aren't businesses coming in there? Why aren't we doing anything with that? And I have personally reached out to individuals to show me what buildings they are talking about and what the community wants with those buildings. And the city's role in that can be maybe to incentivize different businesses, different organizations to move into those buildings to provide a space that, because when there's vacant lots, there's a lot more vandalism, crime, there's other things associated with it. And so what can we do from a community level where the community wants it to come in, and then from a city perspective of how can we incentivize those organizations or businesses to come into the area to make sure that it's full?
Thank you. Mr. Blake?
Thank you. You know, I love South Merced. My mother's a teacher at Gracie, and I've spent a lot of time in her classroom. The kids are fantastic. But I think the reality, let's face it, I think there is, you know, if we compare it to other parts of town, the northeast side of Merced, for example, there is some quality of life issues in South Merced. We have stray dogs, some of the street lamps aren't very good. There's more crime. I think we need to work very closely with the police department to try to ensure that some of those things are addressed appropriately. They have supporting the creation of a 4-man unit, which is a nuisance type unit that's a quick response unit, and I think they'll be very beneficial in tackling some of the issues such as theft and gang violence and things of that nature in the South Merced area and in all of Merced, wherever those issues are most prevalent. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Villa?
My children grew up in Merced, and one of my sons went to Tenaya, so I know it is a wonderful school. They had a very good band going on, so that was one after-school activity that was good. They had some arts here. I do believe that there does need to definitely be some redevelopment on this end of town, that everything that is getting redeveloped, any monies that we get pretty much does go, quote-unquote, to the north side. So there's a lot of housing out here that maybe some of these people could have some help. Could we find some kind of grants to help these people upkeep their homes? And the same here, I agree with the young woman here, I forget your name, that with a lot of the empty buildings, can we find some way to get people to come out here? And all of Merced, yes, please, let's have a friendly Merced and have everyone come together and work together and give these people an incentive to bring businesses in and bring us some jobs, so that not only those of us now have a job, but our future here has a job. Thank you.
Thank you. At this moment, I will be handing it over to Lisa.
Hello again. It's the same thing. Candidates will pick a category, and I will give you a question from that category. So we will be starting with Ms. Villa.
Miss,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Pedroso.
that's quite all right. Let's go with, we haven't had a youth life question for a minute, so let's get with that.
In a survey given out to nearly 500 young people in Merced, nearly 50% said that one issue that directly affects their life is finding things to do. How do you think this city should create more opportunities for youth that reflect their interests?
Well, one of the things that I've mentioned repeatedly is I think that we need to partner with the educational establishments that are in the city of Merced. And I think with the opportunities that we can have with the Parks and Recreation Commission, with the Youth Task Force or Youth Council that is going to be set up, excuse me, through the city, and with the different programs that are being offered through the Merced Union High School District, I think that offers us an excellent opportunity to partner together. You know, one of the things that I think that is, if we try as a city council to do this unilaterally instead of creating partnerships with some of the programs and opportunities that are in place, then I don't think we're really doing it justice. And I think that in order for us to move forward, it just makes common sense that we work with the different opportunities and the different programs that are in place. You know, so for so long, there's been, you know, the left hand's been doing something that the right hand doesn't know what's going on. And I think that we need to bridge those two to make sure that everybody knows what's being offered, what is available, so that the youth have a better opportunity and a better knowledge of what they can do. And I think it's important to let the youth continue to tell us what types of programs and what they want from us.
Thank you.
Same question, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think it's imperative that we as city council members work with like a youth council so we can like develop maybe a calendar for the month. So let's just pretend we're like in December, and certain nights are going to be like Rollerland night, or maybe something like that, or movie night, or I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there, so that therefore the kids would take those back, the youth council kids would take back the calendars to their respective schools, and those kids would get them distributed at school, whether they're in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th, or in high school, because you got to have certain things for certain kids. So you can't have the elementary kids do it. So essentially what we're doing is we're making it so that the elementary kids have certain activities, the junior high, and the high school. And if we did that, we all work together, it would actually be kind of cool to do that, I think. I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there, you know. There you go. Thank you.
I think one thing we can do that won't cost a lot, that may help a lot, and a lot of kids I talk to really aren't aware of what they can do right now. I think we need a clearinghouse where they can go to one site or one place, and there's a list of organizations that already exist, whether it's a Boy Scouts or Civil Air Patrol or volunteering at the Air Museum or a lot of other activities that are already in place. And perhaps they don't even know about them, unfortunately, and I don't think a lot of them know the whole list. I don't think that'd be a hard thing to do. Maybe the Youth Council is one of those that can take on that task and get that done. Partnering with nonprofits, with volunteers, like the Boys and Girls Club and other organizations have been very, very successful. I don't believe the taxpayers will ever have sufficient money to fund everything the kids want to do. And there's no reason to put 12 Chuck E. Cheese's in town because we don't want them to go there every night anyway. So maybe 1 or 2 would be nice, but that's up to them to come here. And believe me, if they want to come here, the city will accommodate their request.
Well, I certainly looking forward to work closely with the youth council to tell the city council to what things that we need to provide, we need to offer. That is one thing. Also, I would like to collaborate with the city school, such as Riviera, which is city already offered $1 million to help build that facility. Here also, and Hoover, so we can provide some after-school project for these youth so that they can enhance their talent, the skills, whatever that would be. So I'm looking forward to do that.
I would agree with the concept that we need to coordinate with other organizations in the city that are providing youth activities to try and enhance and expand and improve those. So with the schools, with the youth sports organizations like youth soccer, youth baseball, with arts organizations that do youth programs, and then actually we're a farm community, so the FFA is very, very, involves lots of kids and very productive activity. So I think it would be good for the city to do what it can to promote those kind of activities by providing, youth soccer is running out of fields, baseball, same thing, we need more of those kind of things. And also this idea of having one central place where the information can be available to kids as to what is that's going on. And it probably ought to be a multimedia thing, some sort of Facebook page or something, because that's where they go to find information. And if they know about it, they're more likely to get involved.
So when I was a youth, I was very involved, and there's a lot of things going on. And I think it really does come back to bringing them all together. I would love to see a Merced app. We are dealing with a generation that is very technologically based. And the biggest and easiest way that we can get to them for free is by using social media. We use Facebook, or we create, like I said, a Merced app where they can download that onto their iPhone, and it brings together all of the activities that are going on for each individual age group. So you have individuals that are in high school, what events are going on for individuals in high school. Once they are 18 plus, what about events there? after they're over the drinking age? What events are there? Because it doesn't get easier just because you're 18 or 21. Just because you're of the age, that doesn't mean that there's just more activities going on. You have to seek out and find activities. So I think that that Merced app would be something great and would cost us very little, if any, money, because we would have volunteers that would be able to help us with that. I know that there's a lot going on with the United Way as far as technology and social media go, and I think that that is definitely a part of Merced's future.
Thank you. And I support the Youth Council, and it sounds like a great task for the Youth Council. I also, to echo what everybody else has kind of mentioned, social media. Everybody Facebooks, tweets, and Instagrams, and tweets, and Vines, and everything else now. And I think it'd be important for the city of Merced, in order to, I think, advertise and enhance some of the existing entities that we have. And I got to give credit to Boys and Girls Club, Mojo, BHC. Some of these organizations are fantastic. These people, Rochelle, Tony Slayton, they go above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, they really get out there and have a real passion to help the youth. And I think it's important to ensure that the youth are familiar with some of these programs, like Explorer Scouts and things of that nature that the police department or sheriff's department or the California Highway Patrol has. There are many programs out there that exist that many of these youth are unfamiliar with. I think if we can get through social media and get out there word of mouth and be aggressive about putting the advertisement out there, I think it's very important to get these youth involved in these programs to keep them off of the street.
Ms. Villa?
Yes, I keep hearing sports, and that's a good thing. But not everyone's into sports. I think art would be simply awesome. What about the arts? I'm sure there are a lot of talented people. As I said, my child out here was in the band, and he loved it. And they have a big band review coming up, I do believe. So some of these children start at a very young age and follow through into high school, college, and become awesome musicians. And we have the Multicultural Center, which is totally awesome, and that is not used very much, and there are very many programs set out there for these. So what if we turn them towards the art? I think a theater would be totally awesome. I bet there's plenty of young adults out there that would just be dying to play Miss Drama Queen, and it would come natural. And that's not going to cost very much money. So I mean, let's get them towards the art a little bit more, because like I say, not everyone's into sports, and sports is simply marvelous, but don't forget the arts. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla.
Yes, take my mic. It's not muting, doing anything. So. Yeah, technology is not my big thing. So, there's been some really good ideas, and the idea of using social media to get the word out is a very real opportunity. We have at the city a person who's in charge at that time, Mike Conley, that can get that out there. But we need to get it to be age appropriate. We need to involve the schools. The schools have a lot of good programs. We need to, as has been said, the Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout and spent a lot of time with the Boy Scouts and learned a lot and spent a lot of good times with them. The age-appropriate activities need to be communicated to the parents so that they can get their children involved and take it forward. There's a lot of things going on in Merced that people just don't know about, and it's the social media is one way to get them out there. So that's what I would advocate is more communications. It's never been wrong to communicate more.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. We will now go on to Mr. Gallardo, and he will pick a category.
About you, not for $200. We already played that. So about you, is that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. In a survey given out to nearly 500 young people, over 90% said they felt the city needs to hear from Merced's young people. How could you propose to put input from youth if elected?
Can you say the percent again? It was over, can you just, yeah, it was over 90%, you said?
Yes,
That they want to be heard? Is that what it's basically, that they want to be heard?
yes.
So, like we talked about, all of us, youth council, once a month, we have it where there's, what is there, 2 city council meetings a month. So we pick one random night, a Tuesday night maybe, and you make it youth city council night, so kids can come down from any school and we give them a minute to talk. We listen to them. I'm just throwing that idea out there. I think that's a good idea. Because if I was a kid at school, I'm the kid at school that would have those ideas. Like, hey, let's have flag football, or let's do this or that. I think if you had that once a month, a lot of kids would want to come, and parents would come too, probably. Have it at a big venue. Do it at the, I don't know, Golden Valley. Do it at Merced High. At the gym. It doesn't matter. But if you get like 20 kids to come out the first month, and then the next time it's 80, and then 160, it makes a difference, you know? Because the kids, you know, the reason I like working with kids versus adults, kids are respectful, they're nice, and they listen, and they actually like you. And if they don't, they're good actors.
Well, if we were to do that, those that know me, I'm going to give them a lot more than a minute.
It was an idea.
The Youth Council is going to direct or report directly to the City Council. There won't be anybody in between that conversation. To be set up, how many times they're going to report to the City Council will be a suggestion from the youth. The big object of the council is so that the youth know there's an organization or a group of youth that can speak on their behalf, because all of them can't get there all the time. And speaking of getting somewhere, when we do this list of what's available in Merced for young kids, I think the big assistance the City Council can help the city is to figure out a transportation system for the kids to get there and back. We have a lot of programs in the northern part of town, and there's some in the southern part they'd like to go, but there's no transportation. They may get there, but no way back. So I think that's a big impediment to getting to use all of the existing programs we have and future programs that we're going to develop.
I think when we have the youth council established, we're going to have a lot of dialogue between the city council, staff, and the youth program. Also, you know, I engage a lot with our youth program in Merced, you know, whether the Leo Club, Kiwanis, other youth program, and I think I still have the energy to really participate and to really engage with our youth, and I hear their concern.
Well, the youth of the community are present every day at school. I think we could cooperate with the schools to talk either to the leadership of the students, although that's only a certain cross-section probably of students, or to somehow to survey or allow students to text their comments on various questions, so that we might be able to get more input from more students through the school networks that already exist.
I think the Youth Council will give us a voice, give the youth a voice within the City Council chambers. The only thing that I have said is a concern for me throughout this entire campaign process is that I feel it's very short term. We have funding for 1 year. So although we need to make sure that we have activities for youth, what does that mean for the second year or third year? It does not need to be a short term, okay, we heard input from our youth for 1 year and then it kind of phased away. So I think one of the things that we should really be talking about right now is how can we make the youth voice a long-term mission for Merced? And some ways that we can do that is by hosting candidate night. Well, tonight is a candidate night, but also council nights. We went in, Mayor Thurston hosted a forum for a city council meeting, And I think that this would be another perfect venue for a school to host a council night where they talk and are able to express their concerns for the city council and continue that on a regular basis, not just for 1 year as it is currently.
Thank you. I would also agree that the youth council, I think, is probably one of the most important things that we can utilize so that the youth can be heard. I think it's important that we continue to open up dialogue with them, and that we also need to set a very strong foundation for our youth council. I think we need to take, the onus is on us to go out and recruit and ensure that our youth council is going to be a diversified group of people. I would also agree with, once again, utilizing social media as an avenue for young people to address some of their concerns and to ask questions of the city council members so that they can respond to those questions an appropriate amount of time. Thank you.
Excuse me. May I have you repeat the question, please?
The question was, in a survey given out to nearly 500 young people in Merced, more than 50, sorry.
That's okay.
In a survey given out to nearly 500 young people in Merced, nearly 50% said that.
No, it's 90%, but I'm not sure to. I just want to clarify a couple of things before I answer.
More than 90% said they felt the city needs to hear from Merced's young people. How can you propose to get input from youth if elected?
I'm going to kind of find this two-sided. They want to hear from the city, so I know that we're talking about a youth council, but I'll agree with a couple of people that I think having a forum with the city council actually here and listening to the young adults and not having a go-between, that's the importance. We're connecting with them, because I feel that the youth council will be very good to help get things rolling, but I still believe as council members, we need to have a one-on-one with these youth. I think this is what they would like to have. So I think maybe every third month something, we could do something like this at another school, maybe rotate it, Hoover one day, Rivera one time, and connect with a lot of different youth and say, we are concerned, we want to take time out of our day to actually sit right here and let you ask us straight up some questions, and let's see what we can do to answer. How can we work together to help you, find some different activities here within the county, and maybe that's not all you're worried about is activities. So let's talk about it. Thank you.
Well, I think the council has made a very good first step with the youth council to understand what the youth are asking and what activities they'd like to see, and start the dialogue that is necessary for them to grow. The more engaged people are, whether they're young or old, the more positive things come out of it. So engaging, whether they're at school or whether they're at youth centers or after school activities, we need to start that dialogue, and I commend the mayor for starting that program, the youth council, and we need to see where that goes. That's the first step, and let's take that first and go from there.
It's encouraging when the youth got up and spoke and they advocated so enthusiastically and with so much energy that they wanted this youth council because they wanted their voices to be heard. That was the first step. And the first step is, I think that, for so long, I feel that the youth have been, kind of timid about approaching the leaders because, they're up on the dais and they see it as, kind of a daunting task. When the reality is, it's important for the youth to realize that they're a part of the community as well, and we serve them. As a city council member, it's not just, the adults of Merced, it's all of the community in Merced, and as much opportunity as we can do to give them a voice, I think we have to. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure a lot of these, some of these that were surveyed were of high school age, and I think that it's important that we continue to focus on collaboration. And if we just try and do this ourselves, it's not going to be successful. I think there's a model out there. I think that we need to take the model, mold it to fit Merced, and make it something that is successful by putting our spin on it and putting our touch on it as well.
Thank you. Due to time, we will not be having candidates pick a question from a category, or pick a category, but we will be giving one last question, and this is from the growth category. In a survey given out to nearly 500 people in Merced, more than 50% said that trying to get a job as a young person is an issue that directly affects their life. How could the city of Merced help young people to get their first jobs? And we'll start with Thurston.
We ran out of Gallardos. Well, this is a growth question, and it's kind of where we started this evening as far as jobs. When more companies come into town, they create more jobs. We've talked about mentoring for a long time, and we need to get this going, not only for UC Merced students, Merced College students, but high school students. Mentoring is a very valuable thing you put on your resume when you learn how to write a resume, and perhaps you can do that in your mentoring job. So if I'm reelected, that's one of my priorities. We've talked and talked and talked about it, and we can't seem to flip the switch on it, but we need to do that. And I think that's one of the bigger issues. Even as the town grows and we get more companies coming in, we've got 6 new companies coming in, 3 are expanding. There's 289 new jobs directly tied to the fee cuts that we did, and that became effective 1 January. So we're headed in the right direction. And we're going to have to take the youth with us. We can't leave them behind. So we got to get this mentoring program started, at least that.
Again, I have 6 children, and 5 of them are young adults. They have very difficult time finding job. That's why I fight for job, good job. For example, the Vermont Distribution Center will be hiring 1,000. High-speed rail will be hire 66,000 jobs. That's a lot, and I support that. The medical office, I support because that will also provide tax revenue so that we can pay for officer and we have other money to doing youth program. These are very important for us. I vote for jobs, I support job, I support business that coming to town. You need a mayor that will be saying yes to business and yes to job, so that our youth will have the opportunity to grow. Thank you.
I guess I would break the question into 2 pieces maybe. I mean, I have had grandchildren trying to get jobs before they were 18. And that's a very different kind of a problem, getting a work permit and getting the qualifications to work when you're under 18. If that's what the question means in regards to youth getting their first job, then I think we need to explore what is involved. I don't fully understand what is involved in trying to facilitate youth work permits, kids who are going to school to also be able to work. If on the other hand, the question is about students or youth who are over 18, adults, then I go back to my original, we simply need to bring more jobs and more job opportunities, more industry to Merced to provide those kind of job opportunities. The high school district actually does a good job of having students go through an exercise of doing a practice interview, doing a practice resume, and preparing for that kind of a first job experience.
I would just like to note that this is not just a young person issue. It is an issue that is affecting Merced greatly, no matter what the age is. And I think that this goes back to another reason why I said that I am promoting tourism. Like I said, there was a $300,000 grant that was received to train 8th to 12th grade individuals in the tourism industry. And so when we have individuals that are trained and then we do not have jobs for them in Merced, that is another reason why they leave Merced. So when we know that we are receiving a lot of grant funds, our students are being trained in a specific industry, and then we do not offer the jobs on the outside of school, that creates a problem. And so that's why I adamantly support tourism. Another thing that I would fully back is providing internship opportunities and mentorships, because a lot of times I mean, my personal story is I worked at Coldstone. That was my first job. And so what types of jobs are young individuals looking for? It was a minimum wage job, and it allowed me to go to school but still work and bring in some income. So we also have to be realistic with what an entry-level job looks like, depending on the age group. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I think we need to look at the overall larger economic climate of Merced. I think that it's not necessarily our job to create jobs as city government, but the onus is on us to create an environment that is conducive to jobs. And I think we need to begin to develop a welcoming track record. And I use Amazon and Patterson as a prime example. Those type of businesses want to come to a place that has reasonably priced land with a workforce that has AAs and BAs. They don't necessarily want to build in Silicon Valley or the Bay Area. We have all those things, but what they don't want is to spend countless hours in the Bay Area in litigation. So I think it's important for us to have a welcoming environment, have that track record, so that when they look at Merced, they see a smooth transition. They don't see, all of their time being spent fighting with us to try to get their business here. They can look at us and know that they're going to have a smooth transition to bring their company into Merced, and that's going to create jobs for people over 18, people under 18, and the overall community. Thank you.
I think a good question that was raised, what kind of jobs are our young adults looking for? And Mike put one down very good. If they're starting at 16 years old, basically they're going to be wanting to flip hamburgers, maybe work at the mall, something that's very basic. And of course, if they're not given a chance to do that, they have no experience. In the last 2 years, I've run into different young adults as I'm out and about, and they're going, you know what, we can't get a job. And it's like, why? What are you talking about? You're 18. Well, we have no experience. They keep telling us we have no experience. Well, how do these young adults get experience? And I guess it is important. What are they looking? So once again, education is important, but not to be light here. But most young adults' first job is flipping burgers. And then let's go from there, and they learn the responsibility. Okay, you need to be on work on time. You need to do your job correctly. So they learn a lot of basic skills as they go into the workforce at an older age. Thank you.
Well, I agree with much of this panel has already said. The fact that we need the good paying jobs, we need the industrial parks to be built so that the peripheral jobs that come with more stores in the mall, the hamburger joints and stuff that provide those first-time jobs are there. But and the question is how do they get those jobs? How do they learn about those jobs? And we have a program in our schools, the ROP program, and those programs need to be expanded. As a business owner, every year I try to bring in at least one student and teach them about working in a business, about dressing properly, about how to greet customers, how to answer phones, how to do things. And we need to expand that program into more businesses. And if we're able to bring in more industry and have the other jobs that would be first-time jobs, we need to expand those programs into that.
Thank you. I had a conversation with a former student last night who went through the welding program at Merced High School, through the FFA and through the Ag Department. And Once he graduated, he was able to get a job at Laird Manufacturing welding. He's a full-time welder now. He makes a very good living, and he's able to have a family, and he's successful at what he does. And I think that's because there's a partnership with Laird Manufacturing, with Merced College, with Merced High School, that kind of is able to develop the programs that the kids need, so when they graduate, they have the skills that they need. We need to continue to encourage those private-public partnerships that can provide job shadowing and mentoring. We need to continue to provide private organizations and public organizations the opportunity to encourage interns. We actually have a former City of Merced intern in the room right now who actually did a lot of our bike path planning. And I think that's something that's very important. I was an intern, I job shadowed when I was in high school, and I think it's a very successful opportunity to really see the real world effects of what's out there. And it's also about changing the narrative that Merced is a good place, that companies want to come here and want to be here.
Okay. Yeah, since I'm last, everyone said internship and mentoring, and I totally agree. And being that I used to teach high school and be the guidance counselor all in one, ROP is huge, so I would do whatever it takes. Hopefully we can fund that a little more, because I had a student I ran into last night as well, and she was in cosmetology, and she actually had a baby her junior year and still graduated on time because I was on her case all the time. You know, I pushed her, I motivated her. Anyways, there's a lot of success stories like that all across, you know, Merced or wherever. So also, I think we should encourage our kids to not only do that, but what about be a big brother, be a big sister, go read to kids who want to be read to. What about tutoring, like a high school student could tutor a elementary student that they're not related to, like I used to have to do back in the day. Maybe be a crossing guard, a lifeguard, a coach. So have high school kids who play baseball go coach the little kids, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Also, let's bring back paper routes. I used to be a paper boy and make money. It was fun. You know, I had to get up at 4:30, but it is what it is. So.
Thank you. And now we are going to hear 60-second closing statements from our candidates, moderated by Fernando.
So at this time, I would like to give each candidate 60 seconds for a closing statement. We're going to begin from the end of the table. So Mr. Thurston, please.
Thank you. High tech. Thank you for this forum. This has been very nice. I want to remain your mayor. I think I've been a very active mayor. When somebody wanted to call and talk to me, I've always met with them. Very accessible. Always willing to meet with people. I go to as many events as I can, and I run into people a lot, say, Stan, you're doing a pretty good job as mayor. Frankly, with all due modesty, I think I'm doing a good job too. So I have a lot of good ideas that come up with. But you can see my record. You can go to my webpage, www.stanthurston.com, and you can see what I promised to do and the promises I kept. So if you think I'm doing a good job, well, why would you want to kick me out of office? I mean, after all, I like Noah. He's a young guy. He can wait a couple of years. He's still going to be on the council the whole time I'm mayor. So put me back in the mayor's office and you get both of us. I think that's a very fair deal.
Well, thank you. Certainly, I would like to thank Building Healthy Community and WeCed for hosting this event. This is very important. You know, we need a mayor who is approachable, accessible, collaborative, consistency, and care, and advocate, really advocate for Merced, and who listen and understand the challenge that young people, families who are struggling to put food on the table, and who really fight for Merced so that we can prosper. And I think with the record that you see, I think certainly, you know, you have a very positive choice for the next 2-3 years. Thank you.
I too would like to extend thanks to Building Healthy Communities for this forum and for all of those others that were involved in setting up this forum. I think it's been very helpful to hear from all the candidates on their various issues and some of the issues related specifically to youth. If elected, I promise that I am going to have an open door policy. I'll listen to your concerns and I'll plan for your concerns, and I'm going to act and do what I can as one vote on the council to get things changed and to make things happen. And those examples of things that I think are important for us to do are to bring industry to town through being prepared for industry to start with all the infrastructure, environmental reports, plans done, etc., so they can hit the ground running and go to establish and start their businesses quickly. In regards to youth sports, youth art activities, etc., I would involve the community volunteer groups, which we rely on to cooperate with the city, and advertise those opportunities for young people to participate in activities through social media so that the most people can become involved.
Thank you. Ms. Mowers?
Yes, I just have to thank everyone that was involved in putting tonight together. And I also have to say, I thought tonight's questions were just amazing because for the first time you made us human. We weren't asked specific questions, then we had to play the political realm. You got to know us as a person, and I really appreciate that. And I hope to extend that to you as a community member of making sure that you feel you're a person in Merced. That this is not just a leader versus community action type deal. This is really a whole community effort, and as an elected individual, I am your voice. So again, thank you so much for having us out here tonight. My slogan for this campaign has been focus on the future, and I believe youth is our future, and I look forward to transitioning Merced into what we have to bring into our area as we look forward to, to the future of Merced. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Blake?
This was a lot of fun tonight. Thank you very much. Andres Reyes, Michelle Zhang, and all the different organizations that put this together. I appreciate it very much, and thank you. I'd also like to thank each and every one of you residents that made it out tonight. It's very much appreciated, and I applaud you. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I think, with the youth, there is a larger circular dynamic here. And, if we can get through to the youth and affect change one person at a time, it's going to have a very positive effect in our community. It's going to lessen the burden on our police department. It's going to lessen our economic burden. And things are, generally speaking, going to get much better for everybody. And I think that the onus on us is to plant the seed now. We may not see it immediately. We may not even see it 5-10 years down the road, but at some point, we need to plant the seed for the future, for our young people, and we need to prioritize our young people. And to reiterate, I think our young people are very, very important to this community, and I look forward to continuing to working with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Villa?
Yes, listen, I want to say thank you to everyone also that put this together, especially the students, which goes to show how important it is to let them be involved in our community. And I think they pretty much made the choice. Probably the idea was given to them, and so here they ran with it, and they did a fantabulous job. I mean, I'm sure they had somebody to help them along, but I'm going to say for the most part, you young adults have done a simply marvelous job, and I certainly hope and look forward to, one way or another, to continue working with you and being a part of the community, whether I'm sitting up in this chair, that I've been coming to City Council for 3 years, and you're all very important. And my motto has been for the last 3 years, let's be kind to each other. Let's take care of each other. And therefore, we can help each other move forward. Let's listen to our youth. They are our future. Let's take care of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Padilla?
Yes, first I'd like to applaud you for this program. This is, as far as I understand, a first, and this has been very enlightening for me. questions I didn't expect. So thank you. Thank you very much. If I'm elected, youth has always been a priority in my life. As I said, I've spent 20 years with Merced Youth Baseball and 2 terms on Parks and Rec Commission. So youth and their problems and what they desire has been something that's always been in the forefront of what I think about and what I want to see happen in this town. I had a great childhood in this town, and I would like to see a lot of other kids have a great childhood. So thank you, and hopefully I'll have your vote on November 5th.
Thank you. Mr. Pedroza?
Thank you very much. I was elected to the City Council 4 years ago, and one of the things that inspired me to run for City Council was the fact that, I thought that Merced was kind of in a rut, and we had so much potential, but potential is one of those words that it's a positive word and it's a negative word. If you don't act on potential, then it's really not worth anything, but if you act on it, it's something that's really good. I feel that we've had the opportunity to do that, and I continue to try and communicate our potential whenever necessary by encouraging partnerships with the different organizations that are here in town and with outside organizations. For 4 years, I've made common sense decisions, whether it's in regards to financial sustainability for the city, economic development decisions to bring in businesses, and I've made sure that we've collaborated, again, with all the organizations that are here in town. One of the things that I pride myself on is my accessibility, and I would love to communicate with the public any and all the time when we can and get out as much as I can. I'm encouraged by what we've done, what I've done on the City Council, and excited about what we can do together moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gallardo?
I just wanted to stand up so I could feel like Noah. I don't have 6 kids though. I just have 1. That was a joke. I wanted to lighten the mood. My goodness. Tough crowd, tough crowd. Okay, so the reason I'm running, it's very simple. I think like 4 years ago, I think my daughter was just asking why there's not certain things. Mr. Dossetti, Mr. Pedrozo, I'm trying to speak here. Goodness gracious, oh well. She was wondering why we don't have Chuck E. Cheese, why we don't have a sky jump place, why we don't have certain things that Modesto and Fresno do have. So I said, well, the only thing I could do is run for office, and I really don't want to run. So she said, why not? And I said, because they won't vote for me, because my last name is not Kennedy, it's not Pedrozo, it's not Dossetti. I'm not knocking these guys, they're actually good guys, but I'm saying I'm the new guy, the new kid on the block. So all I'm saying is you vote for me, you're voting for a dad who's a teacher who cares about kids, that's it. It's not for the $22, is it $22 a month? 20, not for the $20 a month. I'll give that back to the kids. I promise you. Before taxes. And hold on, if I'm elected, I will be your ears, your eyes, and your voice for each and every one of you. Thank you.
So, thank you guys. Please, let's give one final round of applause for our candidates. Thanks everybody for coming. Thank you everybody for supporting youth issues. And could I ask the candidates to stay put just another second so they can maybe we can get a photo with a lot of the young people that facilitated this event. Can all WeCed members come up to the front of the stage, please? Everybody else, thank you so very much for coming. There's still some food left, and remember to vote on November 5th.